Okay, welcome back, episode 11. And for this edition of the Lift Lounge, we are going to start talking a bit more about goal setting, which we have done before, we know, but it's going to be different, we promise. So you want to start us off?
Just believe us, it's going to be different. The reason that we're chatting about this is because we wrapped up a client photo shoot and a client training day, 2 months ago?
Yeah, it'll be like 2 months ago when this comes out. So
About 2 months ago. And what we have experienced, which is typical of someone finishing a harsh diet or achieving a big goal that they've set, is that they feel a little bit directionless. So a couple of the boys coming out the photo shoot achieved that massive goal that they had, absolutely smashed it, and then kind of just struggled with where to go next. And then that falls into perhaps some bad routines and things, and that's where me and Leon come on board to try and set them straight and keep them aligned, set some new goals and whatnot, so that they don't go and ruin all the progress that they've made. So that is why we're chatting about this today. So we're going to chat about goal setting, how to move forward, what you might want to do, how big are the goals that you should set, how small are the goals that you should set, and we'll dive into it. But if anyone listened to the last episode, we filmed that about 5 minutes ago.
we say that every time, man. It's a guilty pleasure.
But you need to cut some slack because it is 8:45 this morning. So me and Leon have been up for a few hours. We're a bit tired, but we're diving into this for you. So you want to start off where you want to go with this?
Yeah. Okay. I think the big thing is when you have a big goal that you're trying to reach and you achieve that goal, you have that like almost release of, wow, I've achieved this big thing and I need to celebrate now. You know, let's have a weekend off, and that weekend off quickly spirals into a week off, and which is fine. You know, if you got to think about it, if someone's been restricting themselves or putting 100% into something for so long, it is going to be a big release, not just like with that goal being a physical achievement, but also an emotional release. So it's understandable, but the problem with it is that you're then, right, well, what's next? You know, I don't really have any goals right now, so I could just take a wee bit more time off, you know, may as well, I've earned it. And what you end up doing by doing that is just setting yourself back and regressing. Now, obviously, you're going to regress a wee bit, but how much you regress is really down to you.
I think a few people listening to this might be able to relate because it's something that you see loads with people getting into shape with like summer holidays and things like that coming up, because they'll nail a prep for a holiday, they'll get in good shape, and then, you know, I've seen it firsthand. Some will come to me before summer, get in incredible shape, and then next summer they come back to me to try and do the same thing over again. And they basically look the same as what they did the year before.
Or 2 weeks after the photo shoot or whatever, they're back to square one because they've just been binging and not training.
And you get in this like hamster wheel. You're not really taking too many steps forward. You're taking steps forward for a certain period of time and then quickly taking a couple of steps back and then taking those same steps forward. And you're never really progressing for any sort of sustained period of time or any sort of like long-term period of time, which makes it really hard to then enjoy the journey because you're just kind of getting this 8, 10, 12 week period of absolutely smashing it, resetting things, and then again in our kind of 8, 10 week period of smashing it, but you're always just getting back to where you were before. You're not really taking any steps forward. And I think having goals set in place for before the event occurs or before the final day of that diet is a really good idea. So you already know where you want to go before the current goal ends. So don't wait until the final day of a diet, have a week off, and then have nothing set in place. You're just going to spend more time twiddling your thumbs and giving yourself the excuse to take another week off or another couple of days off. But if you've got a coach or a mentor or anything like that going through and you have set a game plan for before you actually get to that end date, so that you can have, you know, a couple of days, a week off, and then in the back of your head, you know where you're going to go already. It's going to make that transition a little bit smoother. So have your goals set out a little bit in advance and have a wee look at kind of short-term, mid-term and long-term goals, which is something that I'll do with clients when they're coming on the team. So if anyone's actually listening to this that's joined the team, you'll know from the concept call that we have, it's something that we go over. Short-term, what you're looking to do, mid-term, what you're looking to do, and then long-term, what you're looking to do. In short term could be the space of a few weeks or a couple months. Mid-term might be, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, and then long term I really try to ask the guys, like, you know, what 1 to 3 years, where do you see yourself and where do you want to be? And just knowing that direction that you want to go in straight from day one can really, really help.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, those long-term goals are the goals that are most common among most people. If you think like, oh, I've never done running before, but I'd love to get a 3-hour marathon. You know, that's not something you just do in a few weeks. That's going to take some time. And having that big goal is amazing. And that's exactly what you need. But you need to then work backwards from that goal, right? So where are we at now? Let's do some tests. How far can you run? How long does it take? And then you get up to a stage, right? I did a 5-hour marathon, so we need to shave 2 hours. And this is how we should set this up. This is the times you should reach by 6 months from now. This is the times you should reach by 12 months by now. And that gives you these little, like, almost drip-fed goals to keep you interested, keep you motivated, and keep you wanting to progress, so that not only are you progressing, but you feel like you're progressing, which I think is just as important as actual progress. You need to feel like you're doing well. Otherwise, you're just not going to want to do it.
Exactly. And those short-term goals, a lot of people will link to very tangible things and sort of like instant feedback goals. So it could be like body weight or whatnot. And sometimes you need to take a wee step back from that. So a lot of the guys coming on and joining us as a team, I'll say, look, short term, we need to look at the stuff that's actually holding you back from not achieving your long-term goals. So if you want to have less body fat and a lot more muscle for your long-term goal, which is what a lot of the guys want, what actually might be stopping you is like habits and routines. So your short-term goal might not to be to start losing this amount of weight per week. It might be to, okay, let's get your meal prep sorted. Let's have a look at your meal plan. Let's have a look at where you're going to be shopping. Get all your meals set out for the day, prep them all. That could be your short-term goals, is to get into better routines with food and building better habits and relationships with food, because that is ultimately what's going to get you closer to that long-term goal. So don't just look for these quick, tangible, let's get body weight off type of goals. Look for other stuff that's built more so into your routines and your lifestyles, which is going to allow you to hit the overarching goal.
So that's pretty much like what we've covered before, like in terms of goal setting. So let's dive into how people end up in that position. So in terms of like when you have someone come on who maybe isn't experienced with training, or just from your own experience and things you've seen, what kind of people usually tend to immediately lose their goal or switch their goal very fast? Like, what is, in your experience, like, what have you seen?
People that switch their goals, people that don't know what they want. They're not locked in. They don't know like where they want to be, which is why that like original consult call was so important, and you need to address those pain points. So a lot of people will come on board and they'll maybe push to lose some body weight and not understand that like what they actually want is to not be a certain scale weight. What they actually want is to feel confident in their own skin. They perhaps want their outfits to fit a little bit better, so when they go on a night out, they're a wee bit more confident. They want to be able to run and chase after their kids without getting out of breath quickly. They want to fit in a wedding dress, for example. So like if you are looking for these goals that are somewhat meaningless to you, for example, like losing X amount of body weight per week, deep down, that's not really what you want. Deep down, you don't want to see a scale weight. Like deep down, you want to fit in your clothes better. So you need to really highlight those pain points, because it's those pain points that push you towards consistency. It's those pain points that are going to make the whole experience rewarding. If you're going through a diet and you notice that you used to be a size 36 waist, and then 2 weeks in you're maybe a 34. I'm not saying I can drop 2 inches off your waist in 2 weeks, but that's just an example. Like maybe you're a 34 now, or you're dropping down a dress size. That's the really meaningful stuff that you can't really take away from someone, because that gives you an emotional response. Yeah. You put your dress on and it fits now. Wow, imagine how great you're going to feel. Rather than, all right, okay, the scale weight says you're only down like 0.5 pounds, but what you've actually done is you've dropped quite a lot of body fat and you've put on a little bit of muscle, and you're going through a bit of a recomp, and now you are 2 dress sizes smaller. Like, those are the tangible metrics that you should really be looking for. And for people that lack those, that's the people that are constantly chopping and changing and don't really know where they want to go. So address those pain points. What's going to create that emotional response that you're looking for, and that sort of satisfaction? That would be the main thing that I see.
Do you think there's many pitfalls in when you set goals that are very small? Like in terms of, like, for someone who doesn't train, or maybe doesn't really understand like what losing a stone looks like, and how that's might not look how you think it's going to look. You know, it might not be enough. But they hit that goal and they think, wow, I've done that, and that's me now. I'm done. You know, like I've achieved this very small goal that I've set, and I'm happy now. But then in a few weeks they're back to square one because they've just dropped all the habits they built to get to where they were, even though it's so short term that now they're back to where they were. Like if you think of like fad diets or people who say, I'm going to do like a water fast and all these things, like those people who say they're going to do a water fast or they're going to highly restrict their calories so they can lose all this water weight that they're holding, and then they eat one normal meal and they're back to the weight they were, and they're like, what, I lost 3 kilos and now I'm back up 3 kilos. That makes no sense when, you know, you've set such a minimal goal that you've actually had like no long lasting effect on who you are as a person or what you've achieved physically.
Yeah, so I think that kind of links into like not setting long-term goals as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
well, it
like,
is. You're just setting a short-term goal.
You're looking for the quickest way to get you there, and not the way that's going to be the most efficient and the most enjoyable for yourself. So let's say you set like a really short-term goal of, I want to lose 10 pounds. And then you go and find the harshest, quickest way possible for you to lose 10 pounds. Maybe that's like you go keto and all of a sudden you cut out like 90% of the foods that you enjoy. All of a sudden, it's not because the foods you're eating, but it's because you're just eating like considerably less across the day.
And it's god awful.
But
and 2 weeks later, you don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, you absolutely hate it. But you know, in like 8 weeks, you would have lost 10 pounds and that's going to get you towards your goal.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you finish your keto diet, you go back to your normal eating habits and you put the weight back on. So looking for routes that's actually sustainable for you, that's actually enjoyable for you, might take you a little bit longer in the long term to get to where you want to be, but it means that you're at least going to be able to maintain it and sustain it once you get there, because you've done it in a way that's actually suited towards your lifestyle and what you enjoy, and you've not just done it by like killing yourself pretty much. Like just seeing for how much can you suffer and how much can you sustain that suffering.
Yeah, it's just not sustainable though. That's the problem. Like I think a lot of people forget or don't realize that you're in a position that you're unhappy with due to your routine, your habits. You know, if you're overweight, that isn't something that just surprise happened or you're born with. You know, that you have done a number of things, whether it's been consciously or subconsciously, by putting loads of things in your mouth and swallowing all of them and eating them all, that's got you to the position that you're in. So highly restricting yourself for a period of time and then, right, I can go back to the way I was now, is just not sustainable. And the only way that you're going to achieve any kind of meaningful goal is, like you said, in the short term, should realistically just be all about who you are, your routine, and what you're doing, and getting that to be the new normal, setting healthier habits that are the habits of someone that achieves that goal. Like, I mean, it's the number one thing that you hear in a self-help book, for instance, is what does the person look like that does what you want to do, in terms of whether it be having a six-pack or being that person who's really successful. All of these things aren't just given to you or handed to you. They're built upon successful habits and doing a lot of things really well that are not that hard, but just consistent.
In your opinion, do you think that you can set smaller goals too frequently? Because what a lot of people will do is they'll set, like we spoke about before, maybe a body weight goal every single week. But then we know that it's not just based off body weight. You know, that it's based off how you feel and your visuals, like we touched into there. Like maybe you go down a dress size, but you've not actually lost too much weight. Do you think it can sometimes be detrimental to set those goals and then see people not hit those specific like body weight goals, and then they feel, you know, like they've not had a successful week, they've not had a productive week? Do you think that there's like a better way to go around it?
It depends, and I think it depends on how you react to not hitting those goals, or how you react to hitting those goals. Like if you have these really short-term goals of maybe going down one dress size, which to us, you know, it doesn't sound that hard to us, but for someone who doesn't do anything towards that goal, it is obviously a big step. But realistically, if you set that small goal and you hit that goal, it might be big to you. Are you now going to go celebrate and eat what you want and absolutely destroy what you've worked for? or are you going to downplay it so much that you don't get any of the enjoyment that you were looking out of it? So I feel like you need to strike some kind of balance in how you react. And especially even from a coaching perspective, you know, if I absolutely bow down to you and celebrate you for losing like 200 grams of body weight, you know, it's going to be a very short-lived journey, because, you know, in 2 weeks you're going to be like, well, I'm just always doing great. You know, I'm just a fantastic client and I can do what I want because I lost 0.2 kilos this week. And, you know, I've been dieting for 5 years and I've only lost 10 kilos, you know. Maybe that is what you need, but if you're just constantly being celebrated for such small things, then, you know, where do you go from there? How do you make that next step to achieving the next goal? You know, yes, that's good, but what next? You know, right? So you've hit this goal. What else is bothering you? You know, maybe you still don't feel great, right? Let's look at that. Let's get down another dress size, or let's move to being better in how you feel each day, or being more confident. That's what I think.
Yeah, and what you said there is exactly kind of what I was wanting to touch on. So instead of just having these smaller goals across a period of time, smaller short-term goals, you should have a spectrum of goals that you're looking at, is kind of what I'm trying to say. So yes, one of your short-term goals might be, you know, a specific rate of loss in terms of body weight, but you should also maybe be looking at, like, you know, you could actually look at,
I'd like to stop eating like a child.
Dress sizes. You could look at routines. You could look at habits, right? Okay, so maybe you don't tick off one of your goals in terms of rate of loss, but let's say you've improved your sleep, and let's say you've maybe dropped a waist size, or let's say you've maybe dropped an inch off your chest, or whatever it might be. Like, you should have multiple little short-term goals in there, structured across your week, if I can chat. And you should be looking to see how many of them that you can tick off, and not just focusing on one. Because if you just solely put your effort into maybe dropping body weight, you could have not dropped body weight 1 week, but you could have improved all these other variables that you're not currently looking at. So actually having a bit of like a database of things that you're looking to improve, so that you can create these positive feedback loops, is super, super important. Because without those positive feedback loops, you're not getting that feedback that's going to be spurring you on, that's going to be saying, look, you're actually doing a good job here and there's more room for opportunity. So let's push for it. Let's go for it. If you're just looking at one variable and one metric, there's going to be weeks in there that you don't hit that. Like, it's completely normal for everyone. Not everyone's going to nail that one metric every single week. But if you maybe have 5 or 6 and you're consistently hitting 3 or 4 across the week, you can quite quickly review that week and go, I've progressed. I've actually made some progress.
Yeah.
You're getting that feedback that you need. And each week it might be a little bit different. So you might hit 3 1 week, and you might hit a completely different 3 the other week. But the fact is, you're still creating those positive feedback loops. So not just getting zoned in one metric. Yeah, don't get hung up on the one thing.
Might be a tangent, but like, do you not think from like a coaching perspective, a lot of coaches will get hung up on one aspect of someone's like goal? So for instance, let's say I want to lose 10 kilos, and 1 week I lost nothing. And the coach will, instead of going, right, well, let's look at what you did well. Maybe they didn't do anything well. Fair enough. Maybe they do need like a little kick in the teeth. But in terms of like, maybe, okay, look, I stuck to my diet perfectly this week. It's the first week that I've ever stuck to my diet. Maybe I didn't lose weight, but I stuck to the plan for the first time. You know, all the weeks leading up to now, I've had like one thing off here. You know, they're just not being celebrated for that. So I kind of think like there's so much opportunity for a coach to show someone all of these things that they might not have thought of. I mean, we are the people that have read the books, wore the t-shirt, and have understood like what each aspect of something that goes into achieving a goal means and how big it means. But for someone who's coming on board, they might just think, well, this is the goal and I can't feel happy until I have the goal. Well, no, because that's not what's going to get you there. You know, you need to feel good about every single step of the journey that we're making. You know, this is your first week that you meal prepped all week and stuck to all the meals that you ate. And what did you do at the weekend? I mean, if you look at like, if anyone has a coach, look at your check-in questions. They're all tailored for us to find something to tell you that you've done well on. You know, it's not, the questions aren't, did you achieve your goal this week? You know, it's, how did you eat out this week? Why would we ask that? We're not asking that to find out, have you absolutely destroyed the plan this week? It's like, no, it's an opportunity for you to go, yes, I did eat out this week, but I calorie banked and I did X, Y, Z to make sure that I could do that. You know, that's something that I can then turn around to you and go, okay, maybe you're only down like a little less weight than you wanted this week, but look at this is something that you've never done before and you've done it this week.
Yeah, looking for the positives, looking for that
there's
feedback.
so many silver linings, and obviously if you're absolutely useless and have done nothing right, then I'm going to tell you you've done nothing right, but in a nice way.
So if you were, let's say you're finishing a diet, like we spoke about, the boys that are finishing their photo shoot, what's some goals that you would put in place straight away in order to have an easier time there? And even like in terms of goal setting, what's some of the strategies that you might put in place as well to not fall off track?
I would plan their fun.
Yeah.
So it might not sound like what they want, but I would tell them, this weekend, obviously say the photo shoot's a Friday. For us it was, or was it Saturday? I can't remember. But that weekend they were going to have off. So
yeah,
I would say to them, 2 meals off. That's what you can have. And on Monday, you're fully back on plan. And I will touch base with you on Monday. And you best be back on plan, because it is too easy to fall back off. And then come Monday, I'm expecting you to have gained maybe 2 kilos in water weight or something. And that your first week back, we're going to that shifted and we're going to start setting new goals immediately. But I feel like in the last week, I would be talking about things like, what do you want to do next week? What is the next goal? Right, so you've just finished this big dieting phase. So obviously, what's most people who just finished a big dieting phase going to be? It's going to be going into a bulk and getting huge. So I would then start feeding in the little snippets of, if you gain too much weight this weekend, that your gaining phase is going to be shorter because you've gained too much body fat, and that means you're not going to get as big, and you're going to have to start a diet again much sooner than you want to, and just start planting these wee seeds of things they don't want to hear right now, so that at the weekend, keep that in your head. I mean, most people who have a coach, they've got, for my clients anyway, I always hear that they have me in their head 24/7 rent free. Like when they're out for dinner or something, they're like, Leon wouldn't approve of this. And that's what I want. I want to be in your head, because you need someone to tell you that you're not doing it, which is why you've got a coach. Most people have a coach for that reason, for accountability, because they don't have that accountability themselves.
Yeah. I think people only have a coach, not only, right? There's going to be a few exceptions, but the main reason that people have a coach is literally just for the accountability. Because see, the information that you need to make the changes, it's out there. You could go and learn everything that me and you learn. You could go and take the courses. You could go and read the books. You could gain the knowledge, that the literal knowledge that we have from those types of things. You couldn't gain the experience, right? But what you can gain is that accountability. Like a lot of times people will have a coach just to tell them off when they're doing something wrong, just to give them a little bit of a kick up the arse when they need it, because that's where most people go wrong. People don't want to put the effort in to go and learn everything that we've learned and everything that we've done. They just want that accountability aspect, and they maybe want to learn across the way. And that's what I'm saying. There's a few exceptions. You might be doing it from a learning perspective, but most people are just doing it from that accountability aspect. So that's when we need to step in and actually hold them accountable. Like you said, give them a little bit of time off, let them enjoy it, and then think, right, okay, we've set the next goal. Are we going to keep the high standard that we had across the diet, and we're going to execute things like we've previously done? Or are we going to let everything drop, and you're going to quickly become the person that you didn't want to be?
And I think it's a big thing for a coach to say to a client that's been dieting for some time, we're not starting the bulk next week. Yeah. And that might not be what they want to hear, but if you've been telling them that since the beginning, it's not going to be a shock, But, what is best for us to keep your routine and keep everything that you've done really, really well to get to this stage. And if you think about doing a diet, you have to plan doing all this cardio. You have to find the time to fit your training sessions in, because you're doing so much more training now in terms of cardio. Your steps, more time for that, and also you're eating less food, so all your time is really consumed by activity and meal prepping and making sure everything fits together. And then I take all your cardio away, all your steps away, and I increase your training slightly and increase your food. Your routine has just been absolutely wiped out because I've done that. Now, if we reverse out that diet and keep all of these good routines in, we're going to shift any body weight that you've gained from your little indulgence, and we're going to build into a really good routine for bulking. The biggest problem with most people when they do a bulk is they think, right, I can do nothing, train, and just eat now. Yeah. And that is exactly why you had to start your last dieting phase.
Little maintenance periods before a diet, after a diet, before a bulk, whatever it might be, are really, really important. So just a 3-4 week period where you actually just take some time to relax a little bit more, get things in a more manageable spot with expenditure, with food and all that, And then you can use that period of time to sort of shift any fatigue, any sort of inflammation. You can plan the next steps in a little bit more detail. And then when you got yourself in a little bit more of a manageable spot, then it's like ready to push. It's not that the day that your diet ends is the day that your bulk starts, because that's going to be a pretty harsh transition. Your body's probably not going to be ready for it.
Mentally, you're not going to want to.
Yeah, mentally, you're not going to be ready for it either. But a lot of people will just think, right, one goal's finished, next goal's starting. Take a wee couple of weeks just to maintain things, get things in a better spot, get that mental clarity back. Ask yourself where you actually want to go if you've not done that already, and then get your foot on the gas and then push forward from there.
And I think you have to remind yourself that the only reason you achieved that goal was because of all of the little steps that you did along the way. And you can't throw them all out the window just because you've achieved the goal. You know, all of these things have to be maintained and kept. Just because you are now an accountable person or you are disciplined, that is not yours to keep. That's yours to earn forever.
The goals might change, but how you operate as a person doesn't change over that period of time. If you've successfully went through a dieting phase or a photo shoot prep or something like that, by the end of that, you're a very high functioning individual. Your meals are on point, steps are on point, cardio's on point, training's on point. You're no doubt managing your sleep pretty well. You've became this very high functioning person.
Yeah.
You should still look to maintain that high function, but it's just different goals. So like, yeah, okay, you might have a little bit less steps and a little bit more, or a little bit less steps and a little bit less cardio, but the step goals are still there, the cardio goals still there. You might be putting a little bit more emphasis into your training now, but you know, the emphasis on that training still there, the importance of your sleep still there. You're not looking to, you know, become this person that absolutely nails everything to your dieting phase, then all of a sudden just drop all them out like you were saying, and then just come back to the person you were before the diet. You need to remember that you've got to that high functioning ability. You can still maintain that. It's just different goals. You've just done it for 12, 16, 20 weeks. Just because it's week 21 now doesn't mean that you're not capable of it.
If anything, you are the most capable you're going to be for achieving another goal now.
Exactly.
That is the biggest part that you shouldn't throw out. People think it's the body weight part that they should, like, they feel scared about gaining weight and stuff. But realistically, the thing as a coach that I'm most worried about is that you lose your routine.
It's the person that you're going to become if everything starts to drop.
Yeah.
Because it's much, much harder to change who you are than it is to drop some body weight on the scales.
Yeah.
Or put some body weight back on, or whatever your goal is. Like, you need to maintain who you've become as an individual through that whole experience. And if you can do that, then you're onto a successful gaining phase as well. That's really, really exciting. And that's what I would say to guys and say to people on the team, like, the goals that you can now achieve, that you've built the routines and you've built the systems and you've built the habits, are now really, really exciting. So set a goal that excites you. Don't set a goal that's bland. Don't set a goal that you're actually not really motivated to hit. Like, bodyweight goals and stuff like that are probably not really going to mean too much to you after a diet. Like, you're probably not bothered about stepping on the scale. You've just done that every single day for the past however many weeks you've been dieting. Set a goal that actually excites you. Do you want to get really strong now? Do you want to get into running now? Like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Do you want to put on loads of muscle? But if you're not buzzing about that goal, it's not going to have the meaning behind it in order to
not the right goal.
Keep you on track, and it's not the right goal. Exactly. Disconnect from bodyweight for a wee while and look to set a goal that actually motivates you.
We're not trying to downplay it. Obviously, there is so many factors that go into a successful transition into the next goal, but like, you do require a mindset shift, and you do require a down period bit of time so that you can actually feel motivated about achieving something new.
Yeah.
And that is where we should wrap this up.
I think that's a good place to end it. So yeah, thank you for listening to episode 11. We need to get back on the consistency with these. We're back. Yeah. They will be coming every second week. Again, back into routine. Every week or every second week we'll get back on the consistency with these, because people have been asking. I've actually been getting people messaging me saying, when's the next
To our surprise.
I know, to my surprise. When's the next pod? Well, it's back. Yeah, cheers for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you very much.